Now, as part of the materials video, I want to show you how I create materials in Photoshop. So this is just sort of a sample workflow. So what I did here is I modeled something in Max. This is going to be a crate, like a sci-fi type crate. So I modeled it in Max, and then I rendered a lines-only version of it to use as a template. Now, this little part here was just an artifact, so I'll fix that now. First thing I want to do is change the size and make it at least 150 to have something to work with. And then I'm going to paint over that part there. So I'll get the brush, the color. Okay, well, that should be okay. And then I also want to isolate it into its own drawing. So I'm going to use the magic wand, select that area, inverse it, and then crop it. Right, so that's my image. So this is what I'm going to work on now. I also want to open something else that I prepared. I said, right, so that's going to be the base color of the metal, and that's going to be the painted color. I'm going to use the eyedropper just to get those two. And then switch that off. Okay, so what I've done is I've merged all the paint layers into one, and then I copied this image into that. Made a duplicate, just stretch it out. So this is just a guide that I'm going to use. So I'm going to press Shift Control U. That takes all of the color out of this image. And then press Control L to open the levels. Adjust it a little bit so that I get very specific white and darker areas. Now I'm going to go and say Select, Color Range, and select all the white. So if I switch off this layer, I'm left with that selection. So I forgot one step. Before I do that, I have to apply a mask here. If you apply the mask afterwards, it automatically uses that whole selection as a mask, and I want more control over it. So I'm going to apply a mask first, and then go back here and do the same thing. Select, color range, it's still selected, so okay. If I switch it off, you can see now. Now what I'm going to do is paint on the mask in black. And all the areas that I paint in black will disappear to show the paint layer that's underneath. So you can see I'm painting on all these areas. A little bit there as well. Let's do some of these. Now if I switch off the selection, that's what it looks like. Now I can go and fix it here by making a selection with the lines. Saying magic wand, select that area. That's how I work in that area only. Going back to my mask and painting in white, which will then hide those areas again. But now you can see it doesn't really give you the effect that you want. So what I'm going to do here is create a new brush and choose something maybe like this one. It should be okay. But I'm also going to go here and give it a bit of scattering like that, randomness to it. that one. Doesn't really do anything, and I want to give it a bit of noise. Something like that. So just a little bit more random. So if I go and I paint now, it gives me something like that. And I want to fix that area there, so I'm going to deselect white again, just clean up a little bit. That's okay. Don't like it as much there. It's just this area is higher, so I don't think that any scratch will actually go down onto that area. So I'm really just sort of playing around here. And then maybe switch again. Make it even smaller. I'm going to make a selection for this area only. Back to the mask, paint. Just a little bit of scratches around the edges there. So you can see, use the randomness to let Photoshop do the work for you. That's too much. That should be okay. I like that. Right, so there's my shape. I think let's put some scratches in there as well. So isolate it. I'm going to use the same one, but move it. That's okay like that. So what I'm going to do is say select color range, and again the white, that's fine. Switch off that one, and then I want to isolate it again to that area only. So what I'm going to do is go to lines and now hold magic wand, but I'm going to hold in Alt, which means anywhere that I click now on the lines, it will subtract it from the selection. You can see I'm choosing the areas around it. That's fine, I'm not going to paint on those areas. So back to the mask. If I paint now, it will be in that area only. So I'm going to use that same scatter brush to add even more randomness. And just paint in that area. That looks okay. And then finally, just add some text. Something like that. I'm going to rasterize this to make it pixels, and then do the same thing with that I used for these, but for that one I have a different metal. I have this one with scratches, very fine scratches. So I'm going to select that. Paste it over it there. Apply a mask to the text layer. Back to this one. Control L for the levels. Should be okay. And zoom in a little bit. Okay, select color range. I want the gray. Okay, that should be okay. Back to this one, brush. And that's it. Right, so this that you see here without the lines will be my diffuse layer. So I'm going to save it as a JPEG image, or let's make it PNG. So this one would be create diffuse. And then I want an image that I can use as a bump. Now, if it's a very thick paint, military grade paint, here we have the scratches. It'll be a little bit of a reach. But I also have these areas that will be higher and lower. So that's a high area, low area. So I'm going to start with that. Say, right, back to my lines. First, the lower areas. The lowest area is going to be this. So I'm going to choose a level of gray for that. So it'll be my lowest one. So using the magic wand, select it, make a new layer. It's called a bump, and colorful, make it gray. Then this area around it is going to be higher. So I'm going to invert that. And these will actually be my highest areas. So that's that. And then here as well. Then I'm going to have high again and low around it. So using magic wand, lines, select that area, bump, gradient, and color fill that. So I have high area, low area, high area, low, and high again. Now I want to add those scratches and things on top of that. So I'm going to go for the mask, hold Control, and click on it, because that makes up most of my bumps. And now I'm going to add another layer above this bump map. Darker, so that should be okay. And just color fill it. Just invert it. Right, so that's all of my scratches now, but you can see they're all the same color, meaning if I apply this, all of these will be the same depth as this part here, which is not actually what I want. So, and I also want to see some of it there. So I'm going to change the colors with the levels a little bit like that, but then I'm also going to change how that layer is applied to that one by changing this here, and I need it to be just a little bit lighter on all of them. I'm lying a little bit darker. That should be okay. So overlay, it uses the actual color and then imposes that one, but you can see it uses the base color and then make it a little bit darker. So that should be okay. Just want to see maybe actually a better one. Hard light, and then change it like that. That should give me pretty decent effect. So this is my bump map. So I'm going to save it as PNG, create bump, And then finally, I need a reflection map. Now, if this is a reflective surface, let's say it's a reflective paint, everywhere where there's scratches, it won't be reflective. So I don't need that, the bump. I only need those scratches. So this layer, I'm going to color fill with white. So all of the white areas will be reflective, and those areas will not be reflective. Now, this one, just want to make it a little bit darker. Okay, so highly reflective, less reflective. Right, now over to Max. I'm going to build this material. So I'm going to start by making it reflective. We're going to give it a reflection map. Bitmap, and there's my reflection. Okay, now I want this to be tiled once over the whole thing, so I'm not going to use real world scale, and on the box as well I'm going to switch off real world map size. So just to see, there you can see it's applied over the whole thing. Okay, my diffuse, it's also going to be the bump map. That's the one I already made. Same thing, switch off real world. It's already done there. There's my image. And then finally, a bit of bump. So there's my bump map, real world. And there you can see it. And then just make sure I get a decent bump. And if I render now, there's my crate. Let's just zoom in a little bit. You can see the bumps applied. Nice deep gouges in it. And if I had something reflective, you would have seen these areas are not reflective, those areas are. And that's how you build a material. So this is not the only way. There's a lot more maps that you can use. The ways that I did it in Photoshop are not necessarily the only way to do things. So this is just my workflow. So that's it.